Ladies and gentlemen of the jury and of the courtroom itself, I'm here to represent my client LucentAzure for this particular terrible guild war intent that he went into round one against this name that I cannot read onto the screen at this particular moment. Now, the one thing in particular that we're going to just take a really good focus on is the mere fact that he doesn't actually have any cleansers other than the Shuna and the Diene, and they also aren't really running any kind of effect resist to speak of at all. Now, if instead of bringing the Diene, if he had brought a mediator Carrick, or as you young people like to say, the hand guy, then he would have been completely okay in this particular situation. So I will go on ahead and reiterate my client's stance on this defense. It says here, and I quote, "I am incredibly fucking dumb." So, with that being said, please do respect my client's wishes and just the fact that he was so dumb, and he was attempting to try and salvage this particular horrible heresy of a round in Guild War with an attempt to bring the entire team to sleep on the side, but a 15% just hit that ram, and it just knocked him the fuck out. Now, with that being said, that is my case, Your Honor. Mr. Azure, go ahead and please stand. You have been sentenced to death. Oh, shit! Okay, well, yeah, so that first round didn't go very well, but, hey, let's look on ahead in the bright side. I think everything else goes quite swimmingly throughout the rest of the fight. So, let's talk about this second team here in particular. So, the second team, I decided to bring a Troublemaker, Crozet, a Roana, and an Aria, pretty much just to, utilize Aria, because my Aria is actually fairly squishy. Not quite as squishy as one of my friends. Like, I have a friend of mine who made an Aria who's also on a lifesteal set, but that motherfucker is like 250 or like even faster speed. But he's like super squishy, but he has a shit ton of defense, so he can use it to go first, pretty much on a lot of teams that he utilizes it here. Mine is nowhere near as fast, and mine's somewhat similar to his, except I have a lot more effect resist. He's like rocking none. But either way, I'm going into a Conqueror, Lilias, a Choux, and a Mercedes here. And yeah, Troublemaker Crozet basically does a metric fucking shit ton of the heavy lifting here. Because even with the dreaded Choux of the attack, like the S1, S2, that really did almost nothing to my Aria, because Troublemaker Crozet is taking the vast majority of that damage. And because he's taking all that damage, and I have Roana here with me, I'm just straight up healing that up. Just because, like, Roana is, like, the undisputed, like, champion of, like, fighting these teams. Just because we're going into, like, so much ridiculous counter shit that the healing is just crazy. Like Roana is easily one of the best healers to go into, like, all this horrible cancer meta shit. For example, if you ever really want to feel safe going into, like, a Mercedes, which I just happen to notice this Mercedes is on lifesteal set. I mean, hey, not really going to do you much good here in particular, but like still, Mercedes is an incredibly annoying unit just because of Magic for Friends. Magic for Friends being an incredibly stupid fucking thing. Like, look at this right here. This does basically nothing. One, because I have a whole bunch of defense on my unit, and just anytime Magic for Friends procs and you have a Roana who's there on the team, I mean, hey, it's just going to do nothing to you. Just absolutely nothing. And also, we're going into essentially a Conqueror, Lilias, and a Choux, so like a blue, a red, and a light unit, so we're not going into any greens. So if I ever wanted to, I can utilize this same kind of strategy for about really anything that's on the other side, this probably being one of the worst ones that is not a green unit. So, like, the big reason why I don't ever want to bring something like an Aria to, say, a Senya fight, I absolutely can do it. It's just, yeah, you're going into a green unit that's 50% accuracy loss because of element disadvantage, and anytime you just miss, it hurts even more on Senya because you just take that extra reflect damage. It's just not good because, like, defense has like one very clear weakness, and that's basically additional damage, which is why, like, if you ever see something like a Lionheart Sirmia and that's giving you a bunch of grief and you don't have like a Watcher Suri built to deal with it, Rimuru eats those things alive, like super bad. Same with Spirit Isolines, by the way, because they have naturally extremely low health, and if you just like hit them with an S3 from Rimuru, they're almost always going to be deleted. Or you can like use that as a chance to steal some immortality, you know, shit like that. But Either way, yeah, we're not really talking about that. We're talking about this match right here, which is kind of dragging just a little bit because, one, you're going into Conqueror Lilias. The reason why this kind of sucks is the Conqueror Lilias is an effectiveness monster, and my Aria has a fairly decent amount of effect res, but it's not like enough to actually challenge an effectiveness Conqueror Lilias. Because like any Conqueror Lilias worth their salt, they're like 150. Like that way they can go into really pretty much anything that they please. And in this particular situation, yeah, I had some of my status on my Aria stripped every now and then because Conqueror Lilias is a super fair and balanced unit, doing the oh-so-wonderful shit that she does. But thankfully, like, just the way in which this wall defense that I have set up was, I just pretty much had them grind it out. And that's really all it was to it. Now, let's go on to the next matches. So, after that first match, I was already feeling kind of like, I just don't really give a fuck right now. So I went into something absolutely super, super risky. Now, it doesn't look terribly risky. It's a Piera, a Choux, and a Mercedes. But, like, the real danger is the very first action that I take. If this Choux had countered me with, like, an S1, S2, I'm actually not sure if I would survive it. Because, yeah, Troublemaker Crozet would tank a lot of that damage for me, but I don't know, man. Like, the S1, S2 follow-up, and then the fact that I'm about to get hit again by the Choux here. However, I mean, maybe it could have worked out because I could have used that S3 from Troublemaker Crozet onto Roana, brought her up, and then done the big S3 heal. So maybe it could have worked out. Maybe this is more safe than I'm actually, like, really kind of leaning on. But either way, we've gotten through, like, the first really big hurdle, because if I wasn't using Troublemaker Crozet as a means of protection for Benimaru, 100%. If that Choux had, like, countered me or anything like that and just gone into my Benimaru, you're 100% dead. Just like, you just are. I mean, unless you're building a Benimaru that's, like, built like a brick shithouse bruiser tank. But then, like, I shudder to even think, like, how damn good your gear must be. Because if you wanted to be, like, a brick shithouse tank, you have to have, like, absolutely incredible offensive stats as well. But either way, Benimaru can really shut down a Piera team really, really well, especially if you have somewhat decent speed on you as well, because we've already passed our, like, 2 turns here, so if the Piera goes into us again with an S2, S3, we can still activate a multi-layer barrier, which is super sweet, because, like, right here it happens, and we also happen to get a counterattack, stun it, still the extra turn procs, and then we have multi-layer barrier again. So we take this opportunity, go into Piera, just kill her, and now all we have left is Mercedes. And we've already proven that with Troublemaker Crozet here with us, and with Roana doing all the crazy-ass healing that she's doing, we can survive any and all Magic for Friends procs that she'll possibly do. And here, even though we have full meter fighting spirit, we still don't activate the extra attack because the way in which it all works is it happens at the end of your turn. So thus there was nobody alive for you to activate your the S2 that Benimaru had. So then we just go in again. So if she had survived this, then it would have activated Hellflare. But because she didn't, it didn't activate. That's just how it works. And so here was another team in particular where I'm actually not really sure what the hell the synergy even was. I'm actually very confused by looking at it. So it's a Lilias, a Shadow Knight Pyllis, and a Archdemon Shadow. So the first thing that I immediately thought of is, okay, so I'm going to be hit by, like, some AoEs here and there, and there's 2 dark units there. So that's 2 darks that can go into my light. Okay, so why don't we just go in and hit that with an LRK? So the one thing that I decided to do was, hey, let's have Last Rider Krau, and then let's go ahead and ensure how much effect resist he's going to have by having Christy on the team. So, like, hey, that's an additional 100 or so effect res. So now that we've done that, 100%, we've already won the fight. Now, the reason why I say that is because the biggest threat that can happen is if the Archdemon Shadow were to go into my LRK, strip him, and then we wouldn't have access to, like, our really, really quick cooldowns. But because that's no longer just ever going to happen, because we just have a metric fucking shitload of effect res, and we also have a lot of immunity because we happen to go first. We just gave ourselves the immunity for free on LRK. We're able to just go into this team willy-nilly and really just do whatever we please. So we're 2 bikes in, and we've already killed the Archdemon Shadow, so we've lost a little bit of, like, the AoE potential for, you know, like, a little bit of a faster might. But hey, I mean, that's just how it works, because the damage reduction that Archdemon Shadow has is only on crit. So LRK really, like, double fucks her, because he's doing non-critical damage with his S3. So, yeah, there you go. So all we have left is Lilias and Shadow Knight Pyllis, and once again, I really don't know what the actual, like, synergy that this guy was going for was, because the only thing that there had to have been was the Lilias had to have been borrowing, like, excessive attack from the Archdemon Shadow, but even Archdemon Shadow isn't, like, an excessive amount of, like, damage for a Lilias to borrow from for the sake of doing cleave-type damage, because I saw that as well. He has Ancient Dragon's Legacy. So with Ancient Dragon's Legacy, that's going to be crit damage, so this has to be a cleaving Lilias. But, however, it just straight up wasn't enough damage to even really be a threat. So, now you just got to go through the rest of this fight until she goes down. Grab yourself a drink, boys. It's not over yet, Christy. We got one more to go. So, here's somewhat of a blast from the past. So, yeah, we have Mui over here on the right side, along with Senya and a Mercedes. So, first things first, we actually could have lost right here. This counterattack, that could have activated Magic for Friends. That would have been an additional 2 extra attacks to go into us, and then Senya would have probably finished us off. Now, thankfully, that does not happen. Now, and because that does not happen, we're able to just start recovering now. So the one big heal from Shuna, which, honest to God, isn't even a heal. It's basically just a health, like, redistribution. So now we're all, like, somewhat on equal footing. And now Mascot Hazel's turn comes up after we've already gone in really, really heavy with our Researcher Carrot. We've already killed the Mercedes once. So now we're going to go ahead and buff Researcher Carrot. So anytime you hit her now, you're going to get, like, super burned. So just keep a good look at the damage that's going to be popping through. Because right here, Mercedes hits Researcher Carrot. We get a counter. That kills her. And then the very next turn that Mui got, she immediately died to like 9k burn damage from just the burns that were on her. And Senya's already almost dead. So all we have to do is just go into her one more time. Now, thankfully, we have, 2 non-attack skills on Shuna, so we didn't have to go into the Senya to possibly take reflect damage to die. We go in right here. That's another big ol' hit. And then we just get, like, our insurance heal on Shuna with Mascot Hazel. And, yeah, 100%. This is super, super free. Now, like I said, it could have gone really, really bad early on in that one counterattack that Researcher Carrot did to Mercedes. Because that could have resulted in a Magic for Friends proc, and we could have been just dead. So, hey, LOL luck. Now, you guys want to take a bet as to like how useful Dark Corvus is going to be in this fight? So we're fighting Ahmed, Savior Adin, and an Operator Sigret. So I wanted to bring like Yulha here, but I honest to God couldn't remember off the top of my head because I'm running a protection set. If she actually like has better AI to utilize her second skill, if there's like a unit that has a barrier. So I just decided, you know what? This looks like a very prime opportunity to bring Senya into this and to start seeing if we can do some really, really classic provoke fall before me counter shenanigans. So Dark Corvus is there strictly just to tank the Savior Adin. I think he's my very best Dark unit that can tank the Savior Adin S3s. And this attack goes in. Thankfully, we don't end up missing on the Savior Adin, so hey, works for me. And now we've already got the provokes on the Operator Sigret. So even if she did have advanced AI to go into whoever is barriered, it's not going to happen because she's provoked. And, oh man, it feels so good whenever you actually get the opportunity to use Senya like this. So, sometimes I often do forget, oh hey, why don't I use Senya to fight in a lot of these other guild wars? And the main reason why is because we're usually fighting Senya. And I kind of make it like a little rule of mine that if I'm ever fighting something, I don't ever really mirror match. Just because, like, hey, you don't have that option to do that in RTA, so, I mean, I guess I might as well limit myself in Guild War that same very way. And, oh, hey, looky there, Dark Corvus did absolutely nothing. Thanks, thanks, Dark Corvus. Senya supremacy, baby. And with that said, That's the Guild War, boys. So, it wasn't anything really, really too special. The worst thing about it was the very first match. Like, the first match was the worst thing that I even did. That one was just really... One, there was a bad call on my end where I didn't have to use the Shuna S2 as early as I did. Because, like, I don't need to establish barrier then. Like, what the fuck? And also, my Diene isn't really rocking, like, excessive ER. Like, if anything, she needs to be rebuilt. She's on, like, gear that's from, like, 2 years ago. Like, a lot of these characters have not been rebuilt or built or any of that other shit, like, in years. Like, whenever I put gear on a unit, I usually leave them there, and I don't ever touch the gear ever again. Because, I mean, hey, surprise, surprise, guys, I really, really don't like gearing in this game, just because enhancing gear is a fucking pain in the ass. Like, if they wanted to make enhancing gear, like, better, because I know we're about to get a new event where they're actually starting to introduce equipment reset charms. Okay, hey, that's pretty fucking cool. The only thing is I'm kind of wondering how rare those are going to be. I really hope that we'll start seeing them, like, ad nauseum, like, several, like, so many of them, so that we can re-roll things like arena-based gear. Because arena gear... it kind of sucks ass a lot of the times, because, like, you see, like, those 5 speed stats or whatever on arena gear, and then you just never roll into it, or you're going for, like, a DPS piece and it always rolls into ER, so you never have something whenever you actually absolutely need it. But either way, enough rambling. If you guys like this video, go ahead and please leave a like. If you want to see more of my stuff, go ahead and hit subscribe. It would do wonders for me, make me happy. Have a good one, y'all. Later.